Welcome to part 3 of this ROCD series about obsessions, 10 obsessions you might have. I am Pauline and I am so happy you are here because we are diving into ROCD, relationship OCD, in this little series. Um, and today we are talking about obsessions, one of the core things of relationship OCD. So, obsessions are the topics, the themes that you may obsess about, that you have thoughts about, that you analyze, or that you're trying to solve. And we are just going to go through them. One of the most common ones, I think, is am I in love enough? Just the obsession with your feelings and the intensity of your feelings. And this is probably why there are so many fearful avoidants who struggle with relationship OCD, because this is a very big overlap. Fearful avoidants tend to be very aware of their feelings also, and feel like they have to feel a certain way. So yeah, that makes total sense that you would also struggle with relationship OCD type symptoms. So am I in love enough? Do I love them enough? Am I attracted enough? Anything. Then another obsession is, are we compatible in so many different ways? But are we compatible in values? Are we compatible in just how we look together? Compatibility can really be an obsession, which can cause you to look up quizzes of compatibility, which are rife now on the internet. The internet is rife with quizzes on that. It doesn't really help to do that, let me tell you. Uh, but yeah, are we compatible is definitely one of the obsessions you might have. Another one is, am I fooling myself? I can remember just spending hours trying to figure out if I was fooling myself, if I wasn't being truthful, if I was lying to myself and therefore hurting Aryan. And that was just a whole spiral I went into sometimes. Like, it would feel like sometimes I would have this realization that I am fooling myself, and then it wasn't fooling myself. It was just me being really scared. Another obsession is your partner's looks or physical appearance. This is also a very common one. So this can go from their height to their bushy eyebrows to them being too skinny or too overweight or too whatever. I mean, for me it was so much. It was his bushy eyebrows. It was the fact that he didn't have a Colgate smile. He never had braces. It was just the proportions of his body. I don't even really remember everything. But it's so sad to think back to that now, because I just love him so much. And I can't even imagine spending so much time obsessing about that. But yeah, looks and physical appearance is definitely one of the obsessions that is very common, which is also just driven by fear. It's not bad that you do that. It doesn't make you a bad person. It makes sense. But it isn't love. It isn't loving. That doesn't mean that you don't love them. It's just focusing so much on physical appearance it's not coming from a place of love. That's what I mean. It's coming from a place of fear. Then another obsession is your partner's flaws, minor flaws. So that could be them snorting when they're laughing. I don't know, them chewing with their mouth open. It could be anything. Just add to the list below this video, because there's so many things. But maybe don't, because I mean, we don't want to feed into each other's obsessions, I guess. Your fear brain is creative enough in finding flaws. It's just, it can be funny, and it's good to laugh at or with your fear brain. It takes away its power. If you take your fear brain really, really seriously all of the time, that's when it thinks, oh, you see, there is something wrong. I really have to kick it up a notch and protect even more. Whereas when you kind of see it with humor and laugh about some of the obsessions that you have, that is actually a really good way to deal with this. Then another is your partner's humor. So when you don't find a joke funny, or something they say, or something they find funny, you can't imagine that they would find that funny. That can be something you obsess about too. Like, oh, are we compatible humor wise? Am I going to not like their humor for the rest of my life? Are we never going to be able to laugh? And then you start looking for things in the past, moments in the past that you actually did have the same kind of humor, just to find relief. But yeah, your partner's humor can definitely be one of the obsessions that you have. Another one is sexual attraction and sexual compatibility, which is also something you can definitely obsess about. It's like sometimes there's these circles, right? You think, oh, do I love them enough? And then you check your feelings, and then, oh yeah, I love them enough. And then you think, oh, but do I find them funny enough? And then you start checking that, and looking for memories where you laughed together. And then you're like, oh yeah, no, we had that one time where we were laughing so hard. But does that mean we're only friends? Do I find them attractive enough? And then you start focusing on that and obsessing about that. Those are like the circles that your fear brain takes you on in ROCD. And then the eighth one is if other people think you fit together. That can be an obsession too. I remember asking so many people, like, do you think we're right together? Do you think we look good together? Do you think we're compatible? And that is just seeking confirmation again and again from people outside of you. And it has nothing to do with what other people think of whether you fit together or not. Right now, I can't even imagine, because this has been so long ago. It was 10 years ago, that around 10 years, I think 9 years ago, that I had my last ROCD thought, which was on my wedding day. And after that, never again. The only thought that I had then was, shouldn't I be intensely in love all day on my wedding day? But the reality was that it was a beautiful day, and it was a little bit stressful. There were so many people. It went by so fast, and I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, I definitely wasn't completely in love the whole time. So that was my last ROCD thought. And after that, it never happened again. But so I just want to make clear, it's so long ago, it's so far in my past, that sometimes I talk about these things, and I think about these things, and now I can't imagine from the place I am now that I would hand so much power over to people who, mean well, but they have their own fears and their own beliefs and their own experiences. And if I ask somebody who has had only horrible experiences in their love life, they are going to say something completely different than people who, have a good relationship. And it is not anybody else's place to say anything about whether you fit together or not. So, yeah, it really just has to do with you and what you decide. And that's what you have a hard time with, trusting your own decision. So it makes sense. It's not a bad thing. But yeah, I'm really happy. I'm not in that place anymore, obviously. And then a ninth obsession is your partner's past. So it could be that your partner was promiscuous. It could be that they weren't, but you were just really focused on a ex or several exes. And you just want to make sure that you're better than them, that they are not going to go back to them, that they are happier with you. That can definitely be an obsession. And then the last obsession that I didn't have is this really ROCD, or is it just my relationship? Because when I had ROCD, I had no idea that this is what it was. I didn't know the term. I never heard of it. I just thought it was me and just me, that I was the only one in the world that had this. So I fought my way out of it and healed, never knowing that I had ROCD. I only heard that term, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, for the first time. And then it clicked, like, oh, that's what it was. I recognized every single thought, every single trigger, every single compulsion, everything. and everything made so much sense. But I was out of that. I didn't have it anymore. So I never had this thought: is this really ROCD or is it just my relationship? And sometimes it's hard for me to hear people ask me this, or have people ask me this, like, oh, but is this really ROCD or is it just my relationship? And I think, oh my gosh, if I would have had all this knowledge about ROCD, things would maybe have been so much different back then, and I would have gotten out of it so much quicker. But then again, I don't know. If there's enough fear, it makes total sense that you would ask this question, because you just want to know for sure. You want certainty. But yeah, I think it does pay to trust that when you recognize so much of this, that it is worth it to heal. Because if there's so much fear and there are so many thoughts that you recognize that ROCD has, it really is worth it to focus on healing instead of having this obsession about, is this really ROCD or is it just my relationship, keeping you from healing, because you think, oh, what if I'm focusing on healing and it's not the ROCD, it is my relationship. If you have obsessions, if you have compulsions, if there's a lot of fear surrounding all of this, if you have intrusive thoughts, if you have demanding thoughts, breakup urges, there's more going on. Definitely more going on than just your relationship. There is definitely fear underlying this, and it will always be worth it to heal that and to figure out how you work and why this is happening and where that fear is coming from. And it's not your relationship. It's always, pretty much always, your childhood and your attachment style, the fearful avoidant attachment style, which is what we talk about a lot on this channel. So yeah, this is a common obsession, I know. Just one I never had because I didn't know that ROCD was a thing. So these are 10 obsessions. There are so many more, but I think these are some of the most common ones. And you may recognize them. Please let me know in the comments below whether this was valuable. And as always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next and last part of this ROCD series.
Healed and Happy is a tailor-made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style.